When you scan the roads in North America for compact cars, you'll see a pretty high percentage of Honda Civics and Mazda 3s. While this is a very competitive segment with the likes of the Toyota Corolla, Hyundai Elantra, and Volkswagen Jetta, I've favored and spent a lot of time in various generations of the Mazda 3 and Honda Civic because of their practicality and fun-to-drive factor. In this video, I'll be comparing these two from a used car's perspective and sharing my experience of what I've learned to like and dislike about these cars. If you're potentially a student, early on in your career, or just looking for something small yet practical, I hope this video is able to help you out in your purchase decision-making process. You can also feel free to drop a comment below if you have any questions, and I'll try my best to respond in a timely manner. At a glance, there are some things to consider before you start shopping for either of these cars. Just a small note, some of these factors are location dependent, and I'm just speaking from my own experience living in Canada. So Hondas are generally a bit more expensive than Mazdas relative to year and kilometers. This, however, can work in your favor in terms of retaining resale value, so you might be able to recover your costs a bit when you decide to offload the vehicle. Both are very reliable Japanese vehicles with timing chains, not timing belts. In terms of body shape, you'll mostly find sedans and coupe variants of the Honda Civic. Up until the 10th generation, so the 2016 Honda Civic and newer, there's a hatch available. For the Mazda 3, you're going to find lots of options in the 5-door hatchback or the 4-door sedan. There are also performance models. I'll talk about these later towards the end of the video. When looking at the years 2006 to 2009, 06 was when Honda debuted the 8th generation Honda Civic, which ended up being the Motor Trend car of the year. Many still say that it was very ahead of its time in terms of styling. I think the exterior looks great, as well as the interior has aged very well with that 2-tier up-down display. Many people would also say that this is the best generation Honda Civic to this day. When it debuted, the 5-speed automatic transmission was something that wasn't too popular in this segment. Example, the Corolla and Mazda 3 both had a 4-speed. It's also very reliable, and I think it's aged well. I have a full review of the 2009 Honda Civic EXL 8th generation. I'll link up above. On a long 2,500 kilometer trip I took in 2020, the 09 held up very well, especially for an 11-year-old car. Going back to the 2-tier digital display, I really think that Honda knows how to make things driver-centric, and the interior just makes you feel like you're in a very spacious and luxurious car. In terms of the 06 to 08 Mazda 3, the 2-liter engine was available versus Honda's 1.8 liter, so cranking out 148 horsepower over Honda's 140. They also advertise fun-to-drive zoom factor, especially in the manual, and I would have to agree. I think the hatch option in the Mazda 3 is really nice for road trips and carrying cargo, although it's not a super refined ride, especially when I'm looking at the interior quality and the amount of road and wind noise. Additionally, a lot of pre-2010 Mazda 3 models have the infamous Mazda rust around the wheel wells. Yeah, a lot of Mazdas are kind of known for this pre-2010. So I would say prior to 2010, the edge goes to the Honda Civic. Okay, in 2010 to 2013, things start to get interesting. The Civic 8th Gen has been around for quite some time, and I honestly think it could start using a refresh. Whereas in 2010, Mazda came out with the 2nd generation BL model of the Mazda 3. It has that smile styling. I think it looks really good, especially in the hatch form, which is still not available on the Honda Civic. It handles very well, and I think the interior had an amazing upgrade, and it keeps that sporty, firm ride, and is still a little bit loud in the interior, but I've heard people say that this adds to the driving experience. I'm not going to comment on that. And in the summer break of 2012, I actually worked for a Mazda dealer and spent a lot of time with the Sky Active model, which was rolled out in 2012. Sky Active really blew me away with its gas mileage, and it had a lot of fun to use power. With Sky Active, you're getting direct injection, high compression. However, some people say with long-term ownership, there's a bit of carbon buildup. I also like that they added the 6-speed manual transmission across the board in the manual models. 2012 was also the year that the Civic saw a refresh with the 9th generation. It was highly anticipated with how well the 8th generation did, but it actually wasn't huge in terms of upgrades, and it ended up disappointing a lot of people and critics, to the point that they actually rushed an update to the 2013 model a year after the 9th generation launched. specifically to solve the problems of road noise and refinement. I did actually own a 2012 Si in the Honda Civic, and my biggest complaint was actually the seat was extremely uncomfortable, and I think it had a defect. It would actually buckle when I leaned back a certain way, and the seatbelts would squeak, which was carried over from a lot of 8th gen Civics. I try to avoid a 2012 Honda Civic if you're able to, however, it's still a very decent car. Also, with this generation of Civic, you're still only getting a 5-speed manual transmission unless you get the Si, which has been standard on the Mazda since 2012. So from 2010 to 2013, I would say Mazda takes the edge. Heading over to 2014 to 2018, the Mazda 3 sees huge improvements around refined styling and the interior with the technology package. I think the 2014 onward Mazda 3s have amazing build quality, and they've really come a long way from those rusty pre-2010 Mazdas. I took a trip to the mountains in the winter, and the 6-speed manual with front-wheel drive and winter tires actually handled really well in the snow. I think the 2014 Mazda 3 has the funnest manual transmission I've ever driven, and with the extremely light clutch, it's really enjoyable to drive in city traffic, which I normally didn't find with other manual cars. In terms of fuel economy, I was getting like 600 kilometers with combined city and highway driving on a $30 tank, which is just crazy. And it has a decent amount of power. The Mazda has a fantastic naturally aspirated engine, transmission, and handling. Not to mention the extremely fun to use Mazda gearbox. It's because of this generation Mazda 3 that I fell in love with Mazda's gearboxes and manual transmissions, and I think I give it a slight edge over Honda's. Another key consideration when looking at the 2014 to 2018 Mazda 3s is they're really nicely priced on the used market, and I think they provide a ton of value for what they are, especially if you're able to snag one with leather seats, moonroof, and the technology package, because it has that big LCD display. My 2014 base model Mazda 3 also had a hill start system on the manual transmission, which was a really nice feature. So at this point, the Honda Civic continues to receive refinement in this 9th generation, and it's an amazing car. Standard features around the entertainment system and safety get improved, but things really start to get interesting when Honda releases the 10th generation Civic in 2016. So this is the first time that we see a turbo Honda Civic. A hatch option in a long time, I think, was released in 2017. And still the coupe variant, which I think always looks really good. I personally feel like these Honda Civics are starting to get a little bit big, and is almost like a middle ground between old Honda Civics and the Honda Accord. This might be a really good thing for quiet and comfort, but sometimes I think if you're like me and you want something zippy like a go-kart and is great for parking in dense areas and urban environments, then I kind of like the feel of the older Honda Civics. I will say I don't have a ton of experience with the 10th generation Civic, however, I think it looks great. Okay, so jumping to performance models, the Mazda 3, you might be able to find a GT option, which on the older ones, you'll see a 2.3 liter engine, or more recently a 2.5 liter, which produces around 167 horsepower. I think that the extra power would be really great in the automatic transmission for road trips, whereas if you're looking for something that's more fun to drive, the Honda Civic Si, it only comes in a manual 6-speed, but for pure performance, I think the Honda Civic wins hands down, and that's because my 2012 Honda Civic Si had the 2.4 liter, and it produced 201 horsepower. The 6-speed manual is lots of fun to drive, and that's really impressive for a naturally aspirated engine. Don't forget that premium is needed for the Honda Civic Si, and you might actually lose power and fuel efficiency if you don't go with this. I know this is debated, so I'm not going to talk on that too much. However, what's more impressive is the even older 8th generation Honda Civic Si, with its really high revving 2 liter that actually made 197 horsepower. I think that's insanely impressive because that could almost be cross-compared with the rear-wheel drive Scion FRS or Subaru BRZ. I'm not going to talk about the MazdaSpeed 3 too much, as I'm not really a huge fan of that. So it's a turbo hatch that the Mazda made that I would normally more so compare with the Subaru WRX or the Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art. I personally think it's at a big disadvantage when compared to these two because without all-wheel drive, that's kind of huge where I live. They also stopped making this before Honda went turbo with the Civic. I'll touch on mods and community a bit. I think both are really great, but I will have to say that the edge goes towards Honda in terms of the aftermarket and the communities in different cities. So 2019 to present day, I'll just touch on this briefly, but with Honda engines, especially the bikes I have a lot of experience with, I think I'd just be really curious to see how the turbo drives. I haven't driven one personally yet. And even with how insanely priced the Honda Civic Type R is, I think it's a super cool car. The coupe and sedan both look great. I'm not actually a huge fan of the look and practicality of the flat windshield on the Honda Civic hatch because, yeah, it's almost like an in-between between a traditional hatch and a sedan. But I recently learned that in 2022, they're removing the Honda Civic Coupe, and that concept model looks totally like a Honda Accord. 2019 onward on the Mazda side, I think it's mind-blowing to see how luxurious the present-day Mazdas look on the inside and on the outside. I think they're an amazing value for what they provide, and I think they also made an excellent move by going with the all-wheel drive option on the Mazda 3. That Mazda 3 GT with the 2.5-liter turbo also sounds like an absolute dream for snowboarding trips or long-distance highway driving. So those look like a lot of fun, and I hope to get my hands on one of those one day. In conclusion, you really can't go wrong with either of these two. You really just need to see them in person and test drive them if you can. I really love both, but in summary, 2006 to 2011, I give the edge to the Honda Civic. 2012, I give the edge to the Mazda 3 Skyactiv model. 2013, I'll call it a tie, so you can really go with either or. 2014 to 2015, I give the edge to the Mazda 3 because I absolutely love that generation. 2016 onwards, I haven't tested the 10th generation Civic, but I'll consider this a tie because both are just quality vehicles. So to end things off, I'll talk about the competitive analysis. You might want to also consider some of these other vehicles in the segment. So you'll notice I didn't talk about the Corolla. I personally didn't find anything super interesting in them until the Corolla IM hatchbacks started being offered through the Scion name in 2016. Before Scion got axed, that is. So maybe I'll get my hands on one of these Corolla IMs or Scion IMs one day and make a future video about this, but I wanted to make this video kind of from a perspective of a driver enthusiast. I do have a bit of a preference towards manual transmissions as opposed to automatic transmissions. I know that Corolla owners say that comfort and smooth drive and reliability is what they're after, and I totally respect that. But for me, I care a little bit more than that as a driver enthusiast. So I also know that Corollas come at a huge price premium on the used market, and so that's why I've kind of leaned towards the Mazda 3 and Honda Civic. Subaru has also been making the Impreza with the standard all-wheel drive, but up until 2012, the 4-speed automatic transmission, the kind of dated interiors, and the stories of blown head gaskets were huge turnoffs for me. Luckily, in recent years, we have the Lancer being offered in an all-wheel drive model, or all-wheel control as Mitsubishi calls it. And then I also mentioned earlier, Mazda has the recent all-wheel drive Mazda 3. Ford Focus is also something to consider if you want to go American. Don't get me wrong, I like Ford and I have nothing against Ford. It probably has a very quiet cabin and build quality, but I hear constant problems of owners saying that they have issues with the transmission, as well as poor resale value. And then lastly, from Korea, you might want to look at the Elantra as well. I believe they're offering a hatchback nowadays, and it's pretty impressive offerings in the last 10 years from Korean manufacturers, but it might take a little bit of time for them to catch up in terms of the resale value. So at the end of the day, just it's going to be your decision. Just wanted to share my thoughts and feelings around the Mazda 3 and Honda Civic. If you agree or disagree with me, please drop a comment below. But stay tuned and consider subscribing for more content around cars or motorcycles. And I'll try my best to get my hands on any vehicles or motorbikes that are requested in the comments. But until next time, I hope to see you in another video. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.